put up the phrase there. But large contrast ratio so that you can show the highlights, but also the detail in the blacks is a big influence. And it's not just the thing that's on the other side there, brightness. It's not just about brute force brightness on the screen. Along with that, obviously, colour rendition, and very good to have with high dynamic range, is a wider colour gamut. And although there have only been a couple of movies released so far, high frame rate is going to be something that I think the industry is going to grow into, and next door you should be, in the next demo, you should be seeing some high frame rate there. That's only 5 of the criteria, and the 6th is cost of ownership, and that's something that we really do keep in mind with our products, because the cinema industry is very cost conscious, and so we have to produce something that will fall in line with your budget and operating practices, and that's been taken into account with our laser projector. Not sure how many in the room will need this going through this slide, but I'll go through it anyway. Obviously it's here for a general point. Now we're talking about high dynamic range. You can capture a wide dynamic range with the digital cameras now, but when you're grading your content to go onto a display, you have to be mindful of the display that you're going onto. And if you've got a limited contrast range display, then you've got some compromises to make, and the 2 left-hand pictures there are showing you the potential compromises that you have to make. So in the scene we've got the ambient light of the room, outside it's a beautiful sunny day, but under the table there we've got some shadows. So you may, on the left, have to make the decision that you want to show what's going on outside the window as well as what's going on inside the room, but you're not going to be able to see what's going on in the shadows. The other compromise you could make is, depending upon the relevance in the story, you're going to grade to show the detail in the shadows, but then, and obviously to see what's going on in the room, but then you would burn out the highlights of what's through the window. And that's the compromise that people have had to make for a long time with displays. On the far right, with high dynamic range display, you can have the best of both worlds. So you're able to show the detail in the highlights of what's going on outside, or on the table there. It's not very clear in the picture, but you've got plates and cutlery that would allow you to, you'd have specular highlights shining off those, but you'd also be able to see the darker spots under the table. And although the Bravia display over there is obviously a limited dynamic range, it's difficult to see that there's a black cat hiding there under the table. So high dynamic range is something that we have been taking into account with some of our current products, and also very mindful in terms of laser. So if we look at a normal DCI projector with a 2000:1 contrast ratio, and it's set up for a 14-foot Lambert brightness, then 2000 levels below that you're going to have your blacks going to be sitting at 0.1 foot Lamberts, 0.01 foot Lamberts. The standard laser projectors at the moment are only about 50% improvement on that, so about 3000:1 at best, and so obviously the black level is not too far below that. So again, the dynamic range is not too good. Our current range of sxrd display device has an 8000:1 contrast ratio. So for us, our blacks are much deeper, and that's the feedback we get from audiences, that they like the detail that we get in the darker tones when it's set up for 14-foot Lamberts. And of course, as a sort of reference point there, we've got Dolby Vision below that with its 1,000,000:1 contrast ratio, and of course they are able to show incredibly deep blacks. But of course we do need to take into account the ambient light of the auditorium, and obviously that's a kind of a smudged line there, because it depends on your exit lights, any other lighting you've got for steps, etc. And that's going to come in and it's going to bleach out some of the darker areas. If we now start looking at moving to high dynamic range, then your pink and white reference point is then going to be up at about 30-foot Lamberts, and that shifts everything up. So if you're using a low contrast 2000:1 cinema projector, the accepted standard today, then along with shifting the high brightness up there, your black level is going to shift up, and so you're going to get some greys instead of clear blacks. With the sxrd chips at 8000:1, yes, it's shifted up, but again, you've got some pretty...
Yeah.
Of course, at the moment, high dynamic range hasn't been finalised, so we don't know fully what the standard is, but we're expecting that with our current products and with our laser projector that will fit within the standards once they're decided. So at the moment we have a set of projectors on what we call the sxrd 500 series, and with the same chassis but changes to the light source, or by doubling up the projectors, we can address screens with 9,000 foot lamberts up to 60,000 foot lamberts. And we use low-cost, high-pressure mercury lamps. They have, depending upon the size of the lamp, you can have 2,000 or 3,000 hours operational life out of them. And actually you can run them past that because there's no issues about lamp explosions that you have with xenon lamps taking out the reflector. And at the top end there, we've actually installed a quad stack in an CINERAMAX screen in Germany. We're getting 10-foot lamberts on a 30-meter wide screen, and they're very happy to go on record. We've got them on video on our website, telling us how happy they are with the results that they've got. Because of that 8,000 to 1 contrast range, I'm not sure about in America, if you're familiar with a company called Eclair, one of the top post-production houses in Europe, and they've developed a system, their own system of high dynamic range called Eclair Color, and we're the only projector that they can run it on at the moment. Those are our existing products. Before we move on to RGB laser, ahead of that we'll be releasing a phosphor laser unit, and it's based on our 500 series chassis, so the projectors I've just shown, but we're replacing that low-cost, high-pressure mercury light source with quite a long life of 2,000 or 3,000 hours with a phosphor laser source, but it's got the same quality and facilities as the existing range. So you've got the 8,000 to 1 contrast ratio, so it's what we call HDR ready. Standards aren't set, so but certainly with that wide contrast range, we're going to meet it. Going to have a 20,000 hour life on the phosphor. Seamless switching, so if you've got standard dynamic range trailers and ads before the main feature, which might be HDR, then it will just switch seamlessly between the brightness. And to address larger screens, it's a 15,000 lumen projector, and to address larger screens, we'll have a dual configuration. We showed it at BIR TV in Beijing last August, and we showed it again at Cine Asia in December, and we'll be showing it for the first, we don't have it here, but we'll be showing it in Europe for the first time next June at Cinema Europe. Okay, onto our RGB laser projector. Now, Sony's been working on laser projectors for a very long time. We first publicly showed a laser projector back in 2005 at the World Expo in Aichi in Japan, and that was a laser projector as opposed to a laser illuminated projector, and that was on a 50-meter wide screen. And we've obviously been keeping our eye on progress, and as with other companies, we've been going through development work. And I think, in line with everybody else, the first step was to have a great big rack of laser modules. That light is spread out all over the rack effectively, and you have to bring it together using fiber optics into a tight bundle to be able to put it into the projector head. The problem with that is that you lose up to 20% of the light in the coupling. Now, given that the laser modules are the expensive part of the projector, you will need an extra up to 20% of laser purchases in order to get the light level that you want out of the projector. So we certainly abandoned that quite quickly. That wasn't very efficient given the price that lasers got to be. Once the modules got smaller, you could then start looking at fitting them inside the chassis of